Hi, my name is Jessica Williams, and I will be doing my inquiry project on the running record assessment. I know you guys have most likely heard of running records because we've had a lot of work with them at our ISU classes, so I figured this might be a review, but I'm going to go ahead and try to dig a little bit more in there so we can get a good overview of it. So what is a running record? Like I said, you guys most likely have an idea of what it is. Here's some true uh, definitions that I found to give a good overall view of it. A running record is a tool that helps teachers to identify patterns in student reading behaviors. These patterns allow a teacher to see the strategies a student uses to make meaning of individual words and text as a whole. A running record allows you to assess a student's reading performance as he reads from a benchmark book. A benchmark books are books selected for running record assessment purposes. A running record form with the text from the book printed on the form accompanies each of the benchmark books. One thing I had the opportunity of doing, I think it was my TCH 209 class, I was able to go over to Medcalf and do a lot of assessments, and one being a running record. I was able to pick out a book and make my own script for the book. So I know that you might not have a benchmark book, or you might find something better to have, and you can type your own script as well. So analyzing errors. The reading record assessment has its own score sheet. One of the main purposes of it, and we can see later in a video after this, is going ahead and just really note-taking what the child is doing. There's a column here, which is errors, and the other column right next to it is self-corrections. The 3 check marks right here just indicate that the child got that word correct without actually writing what the word is or anything. That just symbolizes that it is correct. Right here we can see that the word at the bottom is the word that is written in the book. And we can also see that on our own script as well. The recorder has their own script to go ahead and follow along. We can see that the child substituted horse with pony, and then we can go ahead and see what the error is. So by looking at the M, the meaning, we just ask ourselves, did the meaning of the text have an impact on the child's reading? Pictures and information taken from them are considered meaning cues. So the child got the meaning correct. It was just a little off. They understood that pony and horse are in the same family. They sort of mean the same thing. So we would go ahead and circle what meaning is. Syntax. Did the child read the sentence in a grammatical and linguistic reasonable manner? In other words, does it make sense as a sentence in English? If there was a substitution, for example, did he or she substitute a proper part of speech? So we didn't go ahead and see we didn't hear what the child said, but it is written that the child went ahead and said pony instead of horse. So pony is an English word. It does make sense for them to say pony instead of horse. So we would go ahead and circle the syntax as well. Visual, is this also a graphophonic information? What did the word look like? Did the student look at the word and make an attempt based on how it appears? Did he or she use a beginning or ending letter, a cluster of letters? So pretty much, did the child look at the word horse and just look at the visual aspect of it compared to the meaning? So if they said house instead of horse, because possibly they were reading too fast, or did they just say a whole bunch of letters that did not make sense in that sentence? By looking at this example, this is not the case. The child went ahead and looked at horse, thought of another word for horse that they said instead. So we would not mark visual. The self-correction column, we see that the child did not self-correct. If they did self-correct, there would be a line right at the top and put SC, showing that they did self-correct pony into horse. So if the child read, here is the Pony. Oh, horse. Then that would be an example for going ahead and correcting it. But this is not the case. So what I'm going to do next is show a video about a teacher going ahead and doing a video of her administering a running record. I am going to skip through a little bit because some of it is just really repetitive, but it gives a really good overview of hearing the child read and the recorder going ahead and making their marks as well.
You are about to watch a running record pages so I can write notes, okay?
A cat.
One thing we just kind of missed was that that the teacher said that, how about you flip the pages while I go ahead and take notes. I feel like that is extremely key to making the session go by really well, because the teacher or whoever is doing the report goes ahead and has time and is just ready to focus on their assessment compared to going ahead and flipping the pages and walking the child through actually reading the book.
You are about, I'm going to let you turn around so you can hold the pages so I can write notes, okay?
A cat is at the farm.
You might need both hands to hold that open.
I don't know what that one is.
Just try your best. What do you think it looks like?
Cat. Something?
And.
A.
So even though the child went ahead and said gibberish, whatever that atin is or whatever, maybe they're assuming that it says kitten because it says cat right at the top here. No matter what they say, you write down that word. Even if it does sound like gibberish, you go ahead and write that down. And as you can see, the teacher went ahead and put a T and circled it. That means that she went back and told the child what that word is. So even though the child said atin instead of and, she corrected the child after they attempted it, and she told them this word is and.
I don't know what that is. I think that's kitten. Oh, that's kitten right there.
That is kitten right there.
I don't know what that one is.
You've got the sounds.
I don't know that one.
Little
kitten is at the farm too.
Good job. It's a cute little kitten, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love
He
those.
used to have a dog like right here by the garden.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A dog is at the farm.
And this is another thing that's really hard to go ahead and do as the recorder. The child went ahead and just started talking about something that is mentioned in the book, and the recorder had no cue to go ahead and start taking their notes. So the child was, oh, I used to have a dog, blah, 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 talking, and then all of a sudden, a dog is at the farm. And the recorder has to go through and check those really fast so that it is recorded for. That's something really hard to do as well, to make sure that you are going ahead and keeping on task, that the child is keeping on task, and that you are recording everything that they are doing or saying.
And
Very good, you remembered that word.
at little
Good, you remembered that one.
is at the farm.
So as we can see, the child would have most likely missed that word and or little, whatever they missed it in the beginning. But because the recorder told them what that word is, that they haven't missed it in this time around.
2.
Excellent job. Let me turn my page real quick.
A. Duck also. Wait, that's duck. Duck is
So the child is finishing reading the book, and we are just going to move on to the other video I have, which is the person who was actually doing the recording walking through how to analyze it.
Words printed out on it. It makes it easier for you to keep track and to follow along. He took long enough to take care of that. So we have and then we put what the child said right above that. And you'll see the T with it circled, which means that I told the child what that word was. He got the word correct, and then little. When he got to little, he just said, I don't know that word. But then, working through, taking some sounds, he was able to try and look at each of the letters and phonemically sound it out. But he still struggled a little bit too much with that and looked for me to help. And so I also had to, at that point, tell him the word little as well. Now, so when we come over here to this side, we have two airs. We also have to mark for our M, S, and V, meaning, syntax, and visual. So let's look at the first word. That's and. And he really didn't say a word for a substitution, and the word had to be told. So for meaning and syntax, it's not going to apply at all because there was no word stated. But for visual information, we can give him credit for that because he was looking at the word and trying to come up with that. So I'm going to mark that positive for visual, and I like to just put a little check mark there. And then when we got to little, again, he started to look at the word and try and sound that out. So he was using visual information a little.
Okay, let's move on a little bit more to some different airs.
Interestingly enough, he started to struggle again with the word and. But now he's coming up with more words and substitutions. A, the, at. Those are all meaningful substitutions for the word and. So I'm going to go ahead on my one air there. Actually, I have two airs in total. So let's go ahead and mark for our first one that he did use meaning for that. How about syntax? Well, we can start sentences with a, the, or at. So at that point, we could mark it positive for syntax. Just be really careful because this information here isn't really telling you a whole lot because he's substituting a function word, a, that, at, and he's doing it at the beginning of a sentence. So we're going to look at patterns when we get to the end of this. Did we see a lot of patterns? I did happen to see that he struggles a little bit with the word and. I'm not certain that he doesn't know the word. I think he just kind of he struggles when he gets to it at the beginning of a page.
So the running record assessment is good for going ahead and looking back at this detailed sheet. Like here, like she said, we can see that the child substituted a, the, at, and did not self-correct it. They were probably just going ahead and guessing because it was the beginning of the sentence. We can go ahead and see that as well on looking back at different pages to see if the child did that again, and we have this hard copy information that is detailed to see what the child has missed. Here they went ahead and they self-corrected piglet instead of pig. Here they said duck instead of duckling. So we can go ahead and see what the child is missing, if it's meaning, syntax, visual, what their pattern actually is. So some of the advantages that I came up with for a running record is that a running record details a normal segment of time in the day given a more natural view. What I think of when I do running records is actually just being able to sit down with the child, hear what they have to say, be able to record it, like we saw in the other example in the video that the child is saying some stories, they're comfortable, they're able to go ahead and just have a good time reading and not think of it as a test or anything like that. Running records reveal many areas of development in one recording. Like I said earlier about patterns, we can see if the child is really missing visual cues that they can go ahead and that is one pattern. If they're going ahead and just going and stating different words at the beginning of a page or a sentence, that maybe they're just rushing into it. So we have a really hard copy note taking form that we can see what the issue is. Running records can evaluate the effectiveness of a learning center area. That really goes along with what I just said. If they are missing visual cues, we can see that and really relate it to the script that we have and what the child said. So the disadvantages. The running record may take the subject or may make the subject feel watched, become uncomfortable, and change behavior, destroying the nature of the recording. I mean, this can go either way. When I did my Metcalf's observations, it just depended on what student showed up that day. If the student was really ready to focus and was excited for the day and ready to start reading, then that really helped the student focus a lot more and be able to pay attention and not look around the classroom or focus on what I do, my note taking. So I feel like the note taking aspect of it too is really hard for students to kind of overcome and feel at ease with, because instead of the recorder watching the student read, they are going ahead and really making notes in there, and for every word, if it's an error or if they are getting it correct, you have to make a mark. So no matter what, your hand is going nonstop the entire time. So that might be very distracting for the child. Another one I have too is kind of going hand in hand with that, is that the running record may make the adult unavailable to facilitate or observe what is happening in the rest of the room because attention is focused on the recording. I saw a prime example of this when I did my clinical observations. The teacher was going ahead and really just focusing on the child, which she should have done, with being one-on-one there, but they did not have the resources to allow her to go out into a space outside of the classroom, so it was more quiet, anything like that. She assigned the students to read independently, which they did for some of the running record assessment, but while she was doing that, most of them were talking, doing something like that. So she would have to stop the child from reading and use class management to go ahead and try to get the class quiet and under control, which then distracted the child as well. And it kind of, I feel like if you have to do that, then you lose your spot taking your notes, the child gets flustered. There's a lot of things that could go wrong there. The running record may not show in the time segment what normally occurs. Like I said, it kind of depends on what child shows up that day. If it's me and if I'm having a great day, I'm going to be there and I'm going to give it my all. But if I didn't sleep well, if I had a fight with my mom, my sister, anything like that, and I'm just not in the mood to go ahead and do it, then I might not really want to participate. I might just be flustered, that type of thing, and that would reflect on my scores. So it is kind of like a standardized test in some way, because it's one assessment that is given, and it just monitors one segment in time. The running record may tire and drain the recorder because of its intensity. Like I said before, your hand is going nonstop the entire assessment. You are making sure that you get every cue, that you get whatever word they said, and that type of thing, that it is a detailed record of what the child was doing. So your hand is going nonstop. You are making sure that you are checking to see if they skipped a word. That's also one that really flustered me when I did it in Metcalf, was that I have the script and I'm going ahead and I'm marking with my right hand, looking on the script with my left hand, and seeing if the child omitted a word, because that also is an error that they need to mark down as well. So my overall findings. Personally, I really do like running records. I feel like it benefits the child the most because they are in their own element. They are able to go ahead and you can have several running records that are detailed to see what the patterns are that the child has. I really like how the actual running record score sheet allows you to go ahead and write down whatever the child said, if they self-corrected, and that type of thing. It's really handy to go back and look at. As someone, if I was going to be in third grade, I can look back at their second grade running records and see if that pattern is still continuing for that student, and actually have a detailed file on that child. The disadvantages, like I said earlier, it is very distracting. It's very time consuming. I couldn't imagine doing a running record on 28 students like my clinical teacher did while going ahead and having a very disruptive classroom. You just have to assess your students and the classroom to make sure that it is a right fit for that. Like I said, overall, I feel like running records are one of the better assessments. Having that detailed sheet that you can go ahead and look back and see exactly what the child did and said, it's very handy. So I personally like them. This is my number one assessment for going ahead and using in the classroom when I become a teacher. So I hope this was very detailed, and I hope you got the overall gist of what a running record is. Thank you.